Hello everyone, Dracos here, and I'm creating this little video to show off all the bosses in Remnant from the Ashes. Keep in mind, there are some bosses in here that you may not see on your first playthrough. In order to get any of the bosses you have seen on this list that you have not seen in your playthrough, you may either need to re-roll your campaign, or you can jump into the newly added adventure mode, select the designated area that you are looking for said boss, and re-roll that until you get the boss that you need. Keep in mind that I will be only going over bosses. These are the optional bosses that you will run into in some of your dungeon runs, and these will also be the world bosses that are required in order to progress further into your campaign. I will also be explaining how you can also get the optional kill if said boss has an optional kill. For example, one of the bosses in the game has a specific part that can be broken on their body. If you break that part, you can get a different reward other than just simply killing the boss. Alright, enough talk, let's get to this boss list. So the very first boss you can possibly get is Gorefest. Gorefest can be found in the Sunken Passage and is basically the upgraded version of a root brute. He has all the same attacks, completely nothing different about him other than the fact that he will send endless waves of the explosive minions that leave root rot when they explode. There is no weak point on Gorefest, you can still crit him. Your reward for killing Gorefest is the Flesh Barb, which you can turn into the Mantle of Thorns mod. The Mantle of Thorns mod reduces melee damage taken from enemies by 50%, reflects 200% of it back, reduces stagger on hit, and also lasts 60 seconds. The other boss that you can get other than Gorefest is Shroud. Shroud is found in the Hidden Sanctum, very much like the root archers you saw on your way to the dungeon. As you attempt to kill Shroud, the root monsters that you saw throughout the world as you got to this dungeon will non-stop come at you. As you attempt to kill Shroud and stem the tide of the root monsters that are charging at you, keep your ears open. Shroud has a devastating attack that barrages the current location of where you are standing. If you are playing with friends, he will also barrage at the same exact time where your friends are as well. Killing Shroud gives you the Shadewood, which can be turned into the Rattleweed mod. The Rattleweed is a minion that will draw the aggro of all the enemies within 10 meters. So this next boss, I don't know how to categorize him. He may replace Gorefest or Shroud, but he was added in a recent update, and this is my first kill with him with my friend Lord Psycho Dingo.
Oh shit. You probably wanna rest. Oh, hi there, boy! Why are you behind me? You trying to do something back there?
Maybe.
Alright. Oh shit, I tripped! Dude, tripping is dangerous. Oh, it's wet here! Oh, damn it. Dude, there's lots of things in this path. Oh god, why are the bricks here?
You alrighty there, Pooh Bear?
Dude, I can't walk it. Oh, what is this imaginary? Dude, that man just bending over looking for loose coins.
What the fuck? So this is Riptide. He is found within Research Area Alpha. By killing Riptide, you get the Displacement Crystal, which you can turn into the Flicker Cloak mod, which surrounds the caster with a magical shield for 30 seconds, absorbs up to 200% of their maximum health and damage from incoming attacks. If you have a good AoE gun, make sure you bring it to this fight because it makes this fight so much easier. So going into the optional bosses of Earth, we first have the Mangler, nicknamed Tumbleweed. The Mangler is found within the Tangled Pass, and just like our nickname says, he rolls around the entire arena trying to run you over as he rolls. When you get him down to 50% health, he grows in size and continues on with his tactic of trying to run you over. For killing this boss, you get the Hollow Seed, which turns into the Seed Caller mod. The Seed Caller mod summons a Root Hollow minion, which attacks your enemies and lasts 30 seconds. Another boss that you can run into other than Mangler is Barabbas. Barabbas is found in the Cutthroat channel. There are 2 rewards you can get off this guy, 3 if you're playing cooperatively. If you have the Pocket Watch in your inventory, you can give it to him and he will give you the Bandit armor. If you don't have the Pocket Watch in your inventory, well, get ready for a gunfight. In killing him, you get the Shrapnel Shard, which can be turned into the Explosive Shot mod. The Explosive Shot mod fires an explosive round that when it detonates deals damage to enemies within 3.5 meters. The third reward you can get from Barabbas is co-op only, which he forces you to fight your friends. In killing your friends, you get the Cold as Ice trait, which increases your damage dealt to enemies when you fire at them from behind. Moving from the optional bosses of Earth to the world bosses, the first boss you could possibly get as a world boss is the Ent. There are two ways you can kill the Ent. You can just simply shoot at him, which gives you the Spore Gland, and you can turn that into the Spore Bloom, a primary weapon that is a one-shot shotgun that, with its mod, can fire an explosive round that deals rot damage to all enemies within 2.6 meters and will also leave a deadly gas cloud for 7 seconds. Or if you want the alternate kill, you can destroy his legs, which gives you the Twisted Heart, which can be turned into the Petrified Maul melee weapon. The Ent can be found in the Choking Hollow area. The majority of his attacks aren't that threatening, you can roll right through them, but the main attack that you have to worry about is when he opens his back. This can be a really tempting time because the opening in his back is the weak spot. You can fire at it, but I highly recommend you don't, because as you are trying to fire at his weak point, he is bombarding you with explosives. These explosives apply the root rot effect and deal tremendous amounts of damage. Not to mention, as you're trying to fire at him, the adds that also explode are also trying to apply this effect to you. So you can kind of see the issue with trying to shoot a weak point while also dodging two things. The other boss that you can get, and is the complete opposite of the Ent, is Singe. Singe is a root dragon that can be found in the Ash Shard. There are two ways of killing him. You can kill him the normal way, which rewards you with the Blazing Heart, and you can turn that into the Spitfire handgun, which is a machine pistol that deals fire damage, and with its mod, the Flamethrower, can apply the burning effect. The other reward you can get from him, which this will be a little bit more complicated, you have to make sure you break his tail. In breaking his tail, you get the Dragon Wings, which you can turn into Smolder, a melee weapon that deals fire damage. After killing either world boss, whether it be an Ent or Singed, you are done with the Earth world and you are now heading to Rom, a desert planet with a whole another selection of bosses. The first boss that you can run into is the Scourge. He can be found within the Iron Rift and is probably one of the most annoying bosses on this world. In killing the Scourge, you get the Radioactive Skull, which can be turned into the Breath of the Desert mod. What this mod does is exactly the same as what the boss is currently doing to you. You will fire off 7 radiation particles that will seek enemies within 20 meters and deal 80 radiation damage each. Here we can see Doomslayer, aka Gravy the Biscuit, 1v1ing the boss. If anyone wants to see the full video of this, I will gladly upload it. Another boss you can get is the Houndmaster and Maul, found within the burrows. There are two ways you can do this fight. You can walk up to the dog right behind the merchant and just simply shoot it. Killing him that way gives you the Hound Choker, which turns into the Howler's Immunity mod. This mod projects a 20-meter aura that moves with the caster and reduces incoming damage to all heroes standing in the aura by 30%. This only lasts 30 seconds. The other way you can do this fight is you can walk up to the Houndmaster and knock the control rod out to trigger Maul to attack him, which in doing so gives you the control rod, which can be used to summon the Ancient Construct. You can find that boss at the Wasteland Merchant, which is usually right after the first optional boss that you fight. In killing that boss, you get the Ancient Core, which can be turned into the Iron Sentinel mod, which allows you to spawn 2 turrets. You cannot spawn any more than 2. Another boss you can find is Raze within the Shackled Canyon. I don't know what to say about this boss. He's not that threatening, just control the adds around him. He tries to hide as you try to kill him. In killing this boss you get the Sentinel Shard, which can be turned into the Beacon mod, which enables you to summon the skulls that you are currently fighting against to fight alongside you. Another boss that you can run into is Shatter Shade. These twins can be found within the Ardent Temple. One boss will fight at a range while the other one pursues you throughout the entire boss room. Throughout the fight they will reunite and one of them will project a shield to protect both of them, as one of them bombards the area with radiation. Killing both Shade and Shatter gives you the Black Tear, which you can turn into the Veil of the Black Tear mod. This creates a 5-meter energy field that absorbs range damage, but you can still fire out of it as you are standing inside of it. Moving on to the world bosses, you can run into Ravager. Ravager can be found within the Loom of the Black Sun. There are 2 rewards you can get off this boss. You can either ignore the ads and just simply kill him flat out, or you can kill the ads before he absorbs them to recover his health. The normal way of killing this boss is killing the ads before they get absorbed. To do this, shoot the orbs that shield Ravager. Once they are broken, he will recoil and then start to spawn the ads. You can deal damage at this point, just make sure you don't get rid of an entire bar of health. Once he loses an entire bar of health, that's when he starts absorbing his ads. A guaranteed way of making sure you get the normal kill instead of the alternate kill, just make sure when you break the shield, just let him recoil, recover, spawn his ads, then kill the ads, then take away his health. If your weapons aren't strong enough that you can kill him before he can shield himself again, that's perfectly fine. You just may need to do the ad phase 2 or 3 more times. In doing the normal kill, Ravager will give you the Void Sliver, which you can use to turn into the Particle Accelerator, which is also nicknamed the Black Hole Gun, which does exactly as it sounds. It spawns a black hole, pulls everything in, and deals a crap ton of damage. Just be careful where you fire the black hole, because it can hurt your allies as well. In doing the alternative kill, which you just focus on the boss and allow Ravager to absorb his ads, he will give you the Stone of the Guardian, which you can use to turn into the World Breaker, which is a melee weapon. The other world boss that you can get other than Ravager, which is far more threatening than him, is the Haru. The dungeon leading up to the Haru at the time of this recording was unnamed. They may have given it a name in the most recent patch that just recently came out. This boss has 2 ways of killing it. You can just unload all your bullets into him and get the Thermal Geode, which can be turned into the Defiler, which is a shotgun pistol. The other kill that you can get on the Haru, you unload into his knees. After you deal 25% damage to the Haru's legs, he starts to kneel. At this time, you need to run behind him and interact with the spear that is sticking out of his shoulder. That spear is the reward for killing him after you pull it out of his shoulder, and it is called the Lost Harpoon. After killing either Haru or Ravager, they will also drop the Howling Key, which enables you to go to the final boss of the ROM world. This boss is not available in Adventure Mode. This is the Undying King. The Undying King is a required NPC that you need to talk to get a key in order to go on to the final world, Yesha. He is technically an optional boss because he will ask you to go to Gorefest and harvest the Guardian's Heart, the final boss. You can either say yes and he will not fight you, you can later say no if you decide to, or you can say no and he will take great insult to this and instantly try to kill you. Undying King is probably the first brick wall that players will run into in this campaign, considering the fact that he throws a lot of stuff into his fight. In the first phase, he will wander around the room and spawn orbs that will shoot projectiles until they are killed. You will also have these stone guardians spawning from the sides of the room that will shoot at you, and if you get close enough, emit a shockwave with their staff. Occasionally, he will also get up close and personal and draw a pair of blades. This is probably the #1 thing that will kill a majority of the new players, because if these blades get their full combo onto you, you are pretty much dead. Dealing enough damage to the Undying King, probably around the 50% health mark, he will withdraw back to his platform. Once he reaches his platform, he will attempt to recover whatever health he has lost. At this time, he will also send his version of Zerglings at you. Dealing enough damage to the Undying King causes him to recoil, interrupting his healing state. At this point, it's just dealing with the trash that comes into the fight and dealing enough damage to the boss. Don't get cocky though once you have killed him, because he will regain 50% of his health once he dies. In killing the Undying King, you get his heart, which you can turn into the Ruin, a burst rifle that when you take lethal damage and it's fully charged, recovers half your health. If you give him the Guardian's Heart, you also get the Riven, which is a melee weapon that comes along with Life Leech. Moving on from Rom to Corsus, we get the first mandatory boss, which is the Unclean one, aka Shrek. Unclean one will always be the first boss you get. There is no other boss that alternates out with him. The unclean one is supposed to drop 2 weapons, but as of right now, he is only able to drop 1 weapon. There is no alternate way to kill him currently. In killing the unclean one, you get his heart, which you can turn into the Devastator, a crossbow that fires arrows in a spread direction like a shotgun. Moving on to the next boss possibly down the list is Canker. Canker can be found in the Drowned Trench and is honestly, throughout all the bosses, this is probably the least threatening out of all of them. Just stay out of the water, don't get in his way as he's running around, and deal with the ads. Just simply kill him. Killing this boss rewards you with the Slime Vessel, which you can turn into the Corrosive Aura mod. This mod projects a 10-meter aura that moves with the caster. Enemies which enter the aura are corroded, reducing their defense by 20%. This lasts 30 seconds. The other boss that you can bump into, which is probably far more threatening than Canker, is the Thrall. You can find the Thrall within the Capillary. Stay light on your feet in this fight. He will attempt to flood the entire area with corrosion, and you can easily get overrun by the amount of ads that will get thrown out in this fight. In defeating this boss, you get the Swarm Tusk, which can be turned into the Swarm mod. This mod unleashes insects that will seek enemies within 20 meters and repeatedly attack, dealing 5 corrosive damage per hit. This lasts 20 seconds. And this is also the rarest boss out of all my playthroughs. I've only ever seen him once. Moving on to the final boss of this world is Excellus. Excellus is the definition of slamming into a brick wall when you decide to play through this on your first time. You fight on a narrow bridge where Excellus attempts to bombard you with corrosive leading bombs, barrage you with spirits that you can shoot down, and attempt to knock you off the bridge with his spear attacks. As if this boss fight wasn't hard enough, there's also 2 of them. Both of them doing the same exact attacks, also firing beams, and their most signature attack will attempt to scream, stunning you and dealing damage to you. If both of them get the scream off, you pretty much are dead. Best way to counter this is shoot at the orb in their mouth when they prepare to scream. As soon as you see the eruption from one Excellus, quickly turn over to the other Excellus, shoot the orb in his mouth, and that will prevent them from screaming. You can also make the second boss of this fight drop in faster by shooting a cocoon hanging off to the right. Shooting said cocoon causes the boss to lose 25% of its health entering the fight. There are 2 rewards you can get off this boss. You can prioritize one Excellus and then prioritize the other to receive the Hive Stone, which can be turned into the Hive Cannon handgun, or you can kill them both around the same time, and this gives you the Guardian Tentacle, which you can use to turn into the Guardian Axe. They also drop the heart as you kill them, which you can turn into the Undying King. There's also an NPC on courses that you can turn the heart into. Alright, enough with courses. Let's get on to Yesha, the final world. The first boss that you can possibly run into is Sear and Scold. Sear is a flying monster that attempts to harass you with flaming bolas, as Scold sits in the background and pokes you away with his crossbow shots. Be careful of Scold's crossbow shots, because if the crossbow bolt does not hit you, you will still get the burning proc applied to you. This annoying boss fight consists of killing Sear as he pursues you throughout the entire boss arena, dealing with the worms that crawl into the arena to attempt to kill you, and making sure that you kill Scold without taking too much of the burning damage that he applies. This boss can be found within the Withering Village, and killing them rewards you with a Zephyr's Conduit, which can be turned into the Wildfire Shot mod. The Wildfire Shot shoots a fireball that deals 40 fire damage and ignites targets with the burning effect within 1.9 meters, dealing 240 damage over 15 seconds. Another boss that you can encounter other than Sear and Scold is Onslaught, who can be found within the Widow's Pass. This boss isn't really that threatening, but still stay on your toes, because he attempts to teleport throughout the arena and let his ads deal with you. He will only engage you if he teleports right on top of you, which he is really easy to dodge. Just make sure there is always room behind you when he teleports onto you, and just keep rolling away from him as he attempts to unleash his combo on you. In killing this boss, you get the Blind Spear Shard, which can be turned into the Blink Token mod. This mod enables you to teleport yourself forward up to 13 meters and create an electrical blast that deals 140 shock damage within 3 meters. Yes, you have to charge this up. Another boss that you can stumble upon is the Stormcolor within the Heretic's Nest. He is probably the most common boss I've ran into in Yaesha. This boss will throw lightning projectiles at you, and throughout the fight, you will have axe throwers and fire throwers spawn into the fight as well, attempting to murder you. Throughout the fight, he'll create little electric orbs that crawl along the ground and attempt to run into you. You can shoot these before they collide with you. Another attack he can do is he can strike a random area with lightning. This can easily combo into many of his other attacks if you allow yourself to get hit by it, so stay light on your feet. In killing this boss, you get the Storm Crystal, which can be turned into the Stormcolor mod. This mod creates an electrical storm centered around the caster, which unleashes lightning strikes that deal 40 shock damage to nearby enemies within 35 meters, and this lasts 12 seconds. Another boss that you can run into, that's right, 4 bosses that you can run into that aren't world bosses, is the Warden. And the Warden prevents you from going to sleep at night with these nightmarish bell sounds. The Warden is an average spear thrower, but with the addition of the bell that spawns in more units, he is a force to be reckoned with. If you ignore the bells, the adds will continue to flood into the room until eventually they reach a limit that they will just simply overrun you. In killing the Warden, you get the Kincolor's Bell, which can be turned into the Song of Swords mod. This projects a 20-meter aura that moves with the caster. All heroes standing within that aura have their damage dealt increased by 30%, lasts 30 seconds. Alright, enough with the optional bosses, let's get on to Yaesha's world bosses. The first boss that you have the possibility of running into is the Ravager. There are 2 ways of doing this fight. One of them actually involves fighting him, the other one involves the bells that you see throughout his room. I'm going to try to describe the input for these bells, but it may get a little confusing. As soon as you enter the fog wall, they're displayed in an X. If you're standing at the fog wall that you just entered, the input of the bells would be this: front right, back right, front right, back left, middle, front left, back right. You have to do this input rather quickly, otherwise you will not get the audio cue from the Ravager signifying you have completed the puzzle. After getting the audio cue from the Ravager, you can talk to him, and he will give you the Stalker's Claw, which you can turn into the Scar of the Jungle God, which is the melee weapon. If you don't want to go through the migraine of trying to complete a bell puzzle, then you can just shoot him in his cave where he's sleeping currently and begin the fight. Occasionally he will jump off to the sides and bring back some of his friends, a bunch of spear throwers riding on his back that will hop off and try to kill you. In killing him, you will get a tentacle pod, which can be turned into the Curse of the Jungle handgun, a handgun that deals AoE damage and cannot hit weak points. The other boss that you can bump into rather than the Ravager is the Totem Father. The Totem Father has a bunch of pillars in his room that he will jump on top of and throw projectiles at you. He'll also slam a bunch of totems into the ground, each of them having a different job. There are 2 weapons that you can earn from this fight, both of them really complicated to earn. Just shoot the totem before you enter the boss fight to the color you want, and you will get that color's reward. As you enter the boss chamber, he will instantly run for a pillar to jump on and start his onslaught on you. The encounter will start off with him barraging you with electric projectiles, occasionally dropping a totem here or 2, one of them spawning adds, another striking the ground underneath your feet with a lightning strike. As you are dealing with the adds and the totems, be sure to keep an eye out for the Totem Father, because he has a common tendency of wanting to get up close and personal, and it's hard to keep track of him when you have to deal with 3 different things. Another attack he can do is he will conjure a giant rock and propel it at you. You can use the pillars to block this attack. If you keep the totem on its normal color, which is blue as you enter, defeating the Totem Father gives you the Totem Antler, which can be turned into the Eye of the Storm long gun. The alternative kill is switching the totem over to the red color, and in killing him, it gives you the Tempest Heartstring, which can be turned into the voice of the Tempest melee weapon. If you have made it this far into the campaign, congratulations, this is the final boss. This boss is not available in adventure mode, so you have to go through the campaign every time you want to fight this boss.
No matter how many times they rise, they will be destroyed. Their time is over. We will consume all.
Welcome to the final boss fight with the Dreamer, aka Doc Ock. The Dreamer can be found in Ward 13 after you walk through the mirror in the research sector. The Dreamer isn't that tough of a boss fight, just stay light on your feet, deal with the trash, keep away from him, and knock him in the head a couple of times and you will enter the second phase. And now we enter into another state of the game where we slam our heads constantly into a brick wall. This is Nightmare. Nightmare can be a stopping point for most gamers, especially on their first playthrough, because in this boss fight you are basically dancing around waiting for you or one of your friends to get sucked into another realm. While in this realm, you will kill adds that will grant you a buff that when you leave that realm enables you to deal damage to the Nightmare. When you deal enough damage to Nightmare, he will open up and the Dreamer will pop out. This is the moment that you need to hit the Dreamer as hard as you can, with as much bullets as you can, because if you don't kill him as quick as you can, you may run out of ammo or you may not have enough healing resources. Another thing to point out in this alternate realm is that you take damage over time, and the longer you stay in this realm, Gorefests and Shades start showing up. Stay in way too long and you are guaranteed to get knocked down. You may need to run through the campaign and adventure modes a couple of times to make sure you have the correct gear to kill this boss. He has been nerfed recently that they have reduced his health, but for new players, your gear might not be strong enough to kill this boss, so don't be disheartened. Just run a couple more times through the campaign or the adventure mode and you'll definitely get him. A good weapon to have against this boss is the Ruin, so once you get that weapon from the Undying King, make sure you upgrade that as quick as you can. Another good weapon you can use against this boss is the Repeater Pistol with the Wildfire Shot mod. When you come out of the alternate universe, just unload in the Nightmare with the Wildfire Shot mod with the Repeater Pistol, and then when the Dreamer pops out, switch over quickly to your Ruin Rifle and pop as many shots into the Dreamer as you can. You may need to repeat this process a couple of times. Killing this boss gives you the Dreamer's mana, which you can turn into the Repulsor long gun. And there you have it, folks. All the bosses and all their drops from Remnant from the Ashes. If you're looking for all the optional dungeons and the puzzle solutions to some of the quizzes throughout the world, my friend Lord Psycho Dingo is currently working on a video over there. I'll post a link in the description to his channel. If you found this video helpful, please leave a like, and I'll see you guys around. Have fun.